What's up guys, it's your boy, Alextreme, and today I present to you the Warframe's Gunslinger Mesa Prime guide. In this video we'll be going over 3 builds. The first 2 builds are practically unkillable and absolutely shred the star chart and the Steelpath with the power of her exalted weapons, the Regulators. These will be good for Bounties, Index, Survival, almost any mission type. The third build is a level cap build based around one-tapping demolysts. So the first build. We have Strength as our main stat. This will give us more damage on the Regulators, which is our main damaging ability. The other 2 stats we invest in are Duration and Efficiency. These 2 stats are here for sustain. Both of them decrease the energy drain from exalted weapons, making this build very comfortable to play. We have Negative Range, which does hurt the second ability, making it not really work as a survivability tool, but the slight damage boost is still there. Not to worry though, because the third ability will give us 95% damage reduction, making us invincible. Do keep in mind that the damage reduction doesn't work against melee enemies, so this is really the only way to die. This is where Mesa's Vaults comes into play. We can always be on the move and not get surprised by a melee enemy bonking us from behind. The mod also allows you to roll dodge while using your exalted weapon. I know some people have mental trauma from this mod for some reason, but it just makes the frame a lot more interesting to play, cause who likes standing still? Arcane Velocity gives us more fire rate, Molt Augmented gives us even more strength. If you wanna change the Exilus to Prime Surefooted, it's totally fine on all 3 builds. Instead of the first ability, we will use Roar, just an overall no-brainer. It increases our base damage and our status damage. And finally, you probably noticed Archon Vitality and are thinking, but wait, Mesa doesn't do any hit damage, why are you scamming us, bro? HP does scale well with high % damage reduction, but that's not the point. The reason why we run it is this Regulators build. As you can see, we have Viral and Heat. Archon Vitality makes additional hit procs and further melts the enemies, and of course Viral Heat is just the bread and butter of Warframe at this point. We don't require Hornet Strike because Mesa Strength is the base damage for the Regulators. Galvanized Shot for status chance and additional damage. Rest of the mods are the usual ones: multi-shot, crit chance, crit damage and fire rate. Choice of school is totally up to you. If you want more energy, go for Xenoric. If you want to armor strip Acolytes, for example, go for Unairu. As for the Archon Shards, well, yeah, I went for 5 crit chance red shards. Even if you don't have the Tauforge ones, this puts Mesa's secondary crit chance to just a bit over 100%, giving you an incredible amount of consistent DPS. Now just for a quick showcase of how the build actually works. After you see how the enemies melt, you might think, is this actually Steelpath? And yes it is. Mesa just makes it look that easy. With the power of AIMBOT, any enemy you look at will just disappear. Build number 2. We have a very similar approach, but this time we can sacrifice some efficiency and duration because we are running Nourish. Once again, subsuming the first ability, Nourish will give us infinite sustain, good damage and viral procs. For this reason, we can afford to have more strength and range, so our second and third ability can finally shine. To make this build even safer, I decided to add Rolling Guard for those annoying status procs that we might encounter. And this time around, instead of Archon Vitality, we will use Archon Continuity, one of the rare frames that can actually use this mod. And don't get confused, this mod does not work on Sarin. The first ability does corrosive damage, the third ability counts as modded toxin damage and not ability damage, so it does not work either. The Regulator setup for this version: we have Toxin as a base element, Toxin adds additional corrosive, and we have Viral from Nourish, giving us 2 of the most powerful elements in the game at the same time. You might think, why not just mod for corrosive, cause we have at least 2 open mod slots? Well, you could indeed, but because we use Galvanized Shot, the extra element will add even more damage for free and will allow us to run more fire rate. Fire rate on a weapon that has infinite ammo, I don't need to tell you why, it's pretty good. On the plus side, it also opens up a free slot so you can use a faction mod if you'd like. As you can see, the second build plays very similarly to the first build. Once again, any enemy on your screen will just evaporate in seconds. This frame really does make you feel like Tharos. And finally, how to kill demolysts with this frame up until level cap. For the level cap build, the most important mods to have are Brief Respite and Rolling Guard for invulnerability, Muzzle Flash for even more survivability and Ballistic Bullseye for one-shotting. Also, have enough strength to support full strip with either Terrify or Tharros Strike. We subsume the third ability here. 95% damage reduction is just not enough for a level cap, so we will only be relying on invulnerability and not getting hit. Terrify requires 160% strength, Tharros Strike requires 200% strength, which we go way over just building normally, so which one you will choose is totally up to you. And to keep it lore accurate, the weapon with what we kill the demos will be a secondary weapon, Mesa Prime. The build looks something like this, and the damage looks something like that.
Oh my god, bro. Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck?
So basically how it works, very simplified. Press 1 and 2, shoot your Bubonico or your regulators until you see that your first ability is stacked to 100%. Press 3, roll dodge, and press 1 right before you shoot ahead. It is a bit of effort to do, but you will get used to it very quickly. Technically, if you use a faction mode, you will do more damage, but from my tests, I ended up doing less damage. I'm still unsure why. The Riven is crit damage and multi-shot. If you don't have a Riven, just use a faction mode instead. And no, we cannot drop Hornet Strike for Prime Target Cracker, since we use Cascadia Accuracy, which does not give us any base damage. Use Bubonico for priming. Elements are Viral and Cold. Cold is only there to slow the demolysts down. And use Glaive for killing fodder enemies. If you don't have a Riven for Glaive, use Gladiator Might instead. You are wondering why we didn't subsume the fourth ability and we won't be using it much. Well, it's because if you have only one target, in this situation a demolist, the fastest way we stack the first ability is by using the fourth ability. It also gives just enough shield. According to my statistics here, we can see that we have a 56 shield and the ability costs 38.75 energy, meaning we get just enough to shield gate. But yeah, thank you for that. I'm sure somebody gives a f***. As for the regulators, it doesn't really matter what kind of build you're running for this setup, since we are using it only for utility. So you can either use a setup from the first build or this one that just switches the heat mod for more fire rate. Ooh, what a ride. That's the end, friends. I hope you enjoyed. Like, subscribe, and share it with your dad. And I will catch you in the next one.